Isn't it nice to be in person? And this announcement has been a very long time coming. We found out about the funding quite some time ago, but due to a number of different circumstances and availabilities and the house sitting, we're finally able to be here. So I'd like to start by just acknowledging that Halton, as we know it today, is rich in history and modern traditions of many First Nations and the Métis. From the Anishinaabe to the Attawandaron, the Haudenosaunee and the Métis, these lands surrounding the Great Lakes are steeped in Indigenous history. And today, as we gather on the traditional territory of the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation, please join me in acknowledging and thanking them. So we've just come through 2.5 years of a pandemic when we were stuck at home. And one of the things that I think became obvious during that time was how important community infrastructure is and how important things like trails and sports facilities and parks were. You saw parks fuller than they've ever been. You saw our trails packed with people. And we know that all of these are important to the residents of Oakville. So our government has been investing through the Canada Community Revitalization Fund, and it's done through FedDev Ontario, investments in community infrastructure. So today we're announcing over $2 million for 4 projects that will enhance the Town of Oakville's community spaces. I'm happy to be here today with council colleagues, Beth Robertson, Tom Adams, Jasvinder Sandhu, our Mayor Rob Burton, and Pavan Parmar, as well as my good friend and colleague, Oakville MP, the Honourable Anita Anand. And we're just thrilled to be here for this announcement. So I'm going to tell you about 2 of the investments. One is for $86,800, which is going to George Savage Park, and it's going to create an all-season, multi-use sports court that can be used as a basketball court, ball hockey surface, as well as a skating rink in the winter months. And my understanding is that work is moving quite quickly on that, and we'll see that sooner rather than later. The second announcement is one that's quite near and dear to my heart. I can remember when I was elected to council in 2010, the Oakville Cricket Club approaching me about a cricket pitch for Oakville. And over the years, met with them a number of times, but one meeting in particular I remember, and Zane, I don't know if you remember this, at Artisano Bakery, and Max Kahn had just been nominated as the candidate in Oakville, North Burlington, and he said, Pam, I'm going to be leaving council, I need you to take over fighting for this. And so we met, and I remember it so clearly, and since then, I have met with Zane in my MP office a number of times. I've written letters of support for the cricket club. I know I encouraged you to go to a budget committee meeting, and which you did. And today I am absolutely thrilled to announce $656,250 that will be going to construct an irrigated Class A regulation full-size cricket field, which will be used by the Oakville Cricket Club, who we'll hear from later for games and practices. They'll be hosting local and regional tournaments. They'll be attracting visitors and probably players from other communities. And I know that in my conversations with Zane and the Cricket Club, what they've told me is that, and they've acknowledged how much the town has tried to accommodate the sport, but they've been losing Oakville residents to other municipalities because places like Mississauga and Brampton have cricket fields that they can play on. Now Oakville will proudly have their own cricket pitch. Oakville Cricket Club will have a home that I know that they'll enjoy for many years. So I am just thrilled that as the federal government we're investing in this, and that we're going to finally see cricket played on a regulation field here in Oakville. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to my colleague Anita Anand, who's going to announce the other 2 investments that we're making. Anita?
Well, it's hard to top that, but I'll give it a shot. Good morning and bonjour tout le monde. Thank you, Pam, for that very kind introduction and also for telling us about the first two buckets that the funding is going to. I want to begin by also thanking our councillors, Councillor Parmar, Councillor Robertson, Councillor Sandhu, Councillor Adams, and Zane Cott, President of the Oakville Cricket Club, for joining us today pour une annonce très, très spéciale. C'est très important aujourd'hui et je suis très, très heureuse d'être ici avec vous. And like Pam, I would like to begin by acknowledging that we are gathered on the traditional territory of the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation and the traditional territory of the Huron-Wendat and the Haudenosaunee. Today, Pam and I are very pleased to be sharing such great news for the town of Oakville. And I'll start by saying that many of us here recognize the natural beauty of Oakville as being one of Oakville's main attributes and drawing points. And I know for me, I grew up in small town Nova Scotia, and our house when we were little backed onto acres and acres of green space, and recreational fields and tennis courts were so important to our lives as children growing up and families for places to gather. And c'est la même chose qu'aujourd'hui. Le Fonds pour le développement des collectivités du Canada aide les communautés à travers le Canada à construire et améliorer les infrastructures communautaires afin qu'elles puissent se remettre des effets de la pandémie. Just like Pam said, we all need green space, especially recognized during the pandemic when we had to social distance, and one of the ways that we could actually get outside and observe public health guidelines was to be on our trails and in our green spaces. And that brings me to today. And in particular, as Pam has announced, we are pleased to tell the world, especially here in Oakville, that the Government of Canada is investing over $2 million in 4 local projects through the Federal Economic Development Agency for Southern Ontario. Pam explained the first 2 buckets. The second 2 buckets that this funding is going towards are in my riding of Oakville, and we are investing $750,000 in the redevelopment of Wallace Park, as well as $525,000 to improve a 3.7 kilometer multi-use trail along Upper Middle Road between 6th Line and Joshua Creek Drive. Let me tell you a little bit about Wallace Park. Wallace Park is coincidentally quite close to my home. I've played tennis there many times. I will just say that I practice a lot. My son came out to play with me once after never having practiced, and he beat me. So that tells you how great a tennis player I am. He says it's my serve that gets me. But what's going to happen at Wallace Park is a complete revitalization project. It's going to be renewed as a multifaceted and year-round park space. It's going to cater to the needs of the local community, including playground equipment, basketball courts, shade structures, seating areas, and planting areas. That's just fantastic news for our community and for everyone who wants to continue to see sport and outdoor activity being a focal point for all of us here in Oakville. Now, the Upper Middle Road Trail project will improve mobility options for Oakville residents. It will increase the level of safety for walking and cycling for the entire community, and it will encourage active transportation also. I gotta say that as MPs, one of the best parts of our jobs is to see firsthand a positive impact that this type of funding can have on our local community. And just being here today at 16 Mile Sports Complex is so important for us. As Pam said, the cricket field is fantastic news for our community, but it's also a sign of our collective commitment to the outdoors and to improving the lives of people in Oakville because of the way in which we value what Canada has to offer and indeed what Oakville has to offer. I'll just say to close that I'm so committed to working closely with our provincial and our municipal counterparts across the aisle because of the importance of our collective goal to make Oakville a better, a safer, a more livable and excellent community that it already is. So merci beaucoup encore une fois. Thank you so much for joining us today. I look forward to seeing each of these projects come to life and to continuing to see you from time to time in the outdoor spaces of Oakville. Thank you so much.
Yesterday, I attended a community roundtable with Mazai Ujiri from the Toronto Raptors and the Prime Minister, and a number of community groups were there. And one of the comments that was made was that if young people do not have free and accessible community options like what we're announcing here today, they look for other options that are not as positive. And I was struck by the fact that we went to that roundtable yesterday. Charmaine from my office was with me, and we were just talking this morning about these types of investments that allow young people to get out and to get active, to be with their friends and have a positive experience in their community does a lot more than just their physical activity. It also makes our communities safer and more inclusive. So with that, I just want to compliment the Town of Oakville and the leadership and members of council who are here, who've had that vision and have ensured that Oakville is a livable place, that it is, as the vision for the town, to be the most livable town in Canada. Did I get that right? So with that, I want to invite our Ward 7 councillors, as well as, I guess, Beth, are you giving remarks as acting mayor, and the mayor and Tom, if you want to come up, and I'll let you three fight out who's going to speak next.
Do you want to come with me, please? Please? I'm just speaking on behalf of him, but you know, I like his support.
I support you.
Thank you, sir. On behalf of Mayor Rob Burton and the Town Council, I would like to thank our local MPs for today's joint funding announcement for Minister Anita Anand and MP Pam Damoff's commitment to enhancing our community infrastructure in Oakville for the benefit of all residents. I can personally say that in my 34 years here in Oakville, I have seen the growth of our parks and our green spaces and how important it is, not just for the youth, but also for the seniors in the community, how much they're out walking and using all of the local spaces that we offer. So we have seen a significant increase in our use of our local parks and our trails, our indoor and outdoor community facilities. The importance of being active for one's mental and physical health has never been more important. This trend and increase in demand for more recreational and amenities projected to continue for many years. Residents tell us that the qualities that make Oakville livable are our parks, our community centers, and our trails. Town Council is committed to providing the programs, the services and facilities that Oakville residents tell us they want, cricket being one of them. Pickleball, being another, which is why we are contributing $930,000 in community infrastructure. Today's investment will contribute to Oakville's livability by the construction of the full-size cricket field in North Oakville, the revitalization of Wallace Park and the multi-use sports facility at George Savage Park, and the extension of the multi-use trail by 2.7 kilometers along Upper Middle. They will all contribute to Oakville's livability. We look forward to more opportunities to team up with our federal partners and provide even more indoor and outdoor infrastructure for Oakville residents to enjoy over the years. So thank you so much. And I now like to call upon my council colleague, Pavan Parmar.
Thank you, Acting Mayor Robertson. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Ward 7. Thank you, MP Pam Damoff and Minister Anita Anand, for today's joint funding announcement for community infrastructure projects that will support our local economy and provide community spaces for all residents to use and gather in. Our council has worked hard to deliver the North Park and Community Center project ahead of schedule, with construction to start later this month. And only with the help of and support of our federal government and the advocacy of our members of parliament, we're able to add the much anticipated, long awaited regulation full-size cricket field. I know the Oakville Cricket Association, under Zane's leadership, has worked extremely hard for over a decade to make this a reality. And together, our governments are investing in infrastructure to support our fast-growing and diverse community with amenities that will contribute to the participation of physical activity and create a sense of belonging. Today, cricket is the fastest growing sport in Canada, with well over 40,000 cricketers across the nation. So with this investment, here's to seeing the next cricket superstar on the world stage, representing Canada right here from Oakville. I also wanted to thank our federal members for the investment for the installation of an all-season sports court at George Savage Park, which is also located here in Ward 7. Coincidentally, I live down the street from George Savage Park, and I'm a frequent visitor with my children, and I can tell you it's flooded with residents, especially youth. And the need for this court was identified during the pandemic. So the investment will provide multiple uses for our residents and will be a welcomed addition to our community. So thank you again to our minister and to MP Pam Damoff for your work and your commitment in enhancing community infrastructure for Oakville residents to enjoy. Thanks.
I'm going to be very brief in my comments. Just a few thank yous, quite frankly, across the board. First, a huge thank you to MP Pam Damoff. I know that your advocacy in North Oakville has been very well received, I should say, over many, many years and over a decade. So thank you very, very much. I also want to say thank you for holding Ward 7 in your heart, because we noticed that 2 out of the 4 funding projects are here, and I'll take that as a favorite for myself. I also wanted to thank my council colleagues, Councillor Robertson, Councillor Adams, Councillor Parmar, and of course Mayor Burton. Mayor Burton was the champion point, I think it was last year, Mayor Burton, when we got a shovel-ready design ready for our complex as well as the outdoor fields here. So I want to say thank you very much for that as well. I would be remiss if I didn't mention Zane Cott. Zane has been a zealous, sometimes overzealous advocate for this cricket pitch. And we couldn't have really done this without you. Thank you so much for your professionalism, your ability to work with every member of the government and every level of the government. And it really shows how much advocacy at every level can really do for your community. So I want to say thank you again. And the real heroes here, and I think that often get overlooked, are staff, town staff. So thank you to Todd Carey, our facility manager here, also to Commissioner Bell and Director Mark. I think I've misplaced him. There he is. Thank you very much for working as tirelessly as you do to make our community one of the best places, if not the best place, and the most livable place to live. So thank you very much again. Much, much appreciated. And everyone have a great morning. Thank you.
So last but not least, I'd like to invite up Zane Cott. Zane, we'd love to have you say a few words about the Oakville Cricket Club. Club or association? Is it Oakville
Club,
Cricket
yeah.
Club?
It's a club. Wow, that's always difficult. When you try to speak something after such a marvelous speakers out there, it's always trouble. Hello, and everyone, and thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to speak here today. Thank you, Pam. Our association is so happy to have an adequate and dedicated cricket field that we can finally call ours. We will not lose our Oakville cricketers to better grounds in neighboring cities like Mississauga, Burlington, and Brampton mostly. Our journey from 2004 to 2022 is long enough, but looking at the plan and the kind of facility we are getting, the wait was well worth it. Over the years, our association has tremendous growth, from 15-member club to around 200 members now, not to mention few hundred more waiting in to join from Ward 7 alone. With Oakville growing exponentially, we see a huge rise in interest for cricket, among other sports. Glenaston will still be needed for junior cricket for both boys and girls, but this new field will give our club and our association the opportunity to host national events and bring the spotlight to our amazing town of Oakville. The FedDev Ontario over the years has helped local municipalities to fulfill the hidden yet very desperate needs of communities. This funding, in conjunction with Town's Infrastructure Fund, will certainly bring Oakville community even closer and help them in revitalization, diversification, and advancement. The cricket field will make it icing on the cake to make Oakville just a perfect place to live in. On behalf of our club, I would like to thank Federal Member of Parliament and Minister Anita Anand, of course Pam, old-time friend, and for this funding. Sorry, I might choke, but pardon me. I'm getting a little emotional. This will help the growth of diversity in our community as a whole and will give lifeline to the cricketing community in general. I would like to thank our mayor and council for the ongoing efforts to making this field a reality. Thank you. And also thanks to our two ward councillors, Jaswinder Sandhu and Pawan Parmar, for their support. Pawan, you said 4 years ago that you will try, and try you did. Thank you for your advocacy and your support all along. Thank you. And lastly, I want to thank the town staff who have been working with us on the logistics of this field. This couldn't have been achieved without them, and we are so very grateful. So thank you everyone for this, the great thing.
So that wraps up the formal portion. I just would like to thank everyone for coming. Anita and I, this is one of our favorite things to do, I have to say. You know, there's lots of opportunities that we have to do things, but when we can partner with the Town of Oakville and be able to deliver federal funding to our community, it's probably one of the best things that we're able to do as members of Parliament. So we're going to end the formal portion. Before I do, I want to thank Todd Carey, who's always such a wonderful host, and all of the town staff that were here, particularly Chris Mark, who I don't know what the town would do without him, and I know he's been working on... So we're going to walk out to see where the cricket pitch is going to go. Cricket field, cricket pitch. You can explain the whole thing to me, Zane. And we're going to walk out there and we can get some pictures. So thank you all for coming today, and we'll head outside.